I'm going to start by just telling you a little bit about how the column started and how I do the column, and then I'm going to give you some of my favorite ways to be cheap. But what I really want to do is leave time for you all to ask what questions you want to ask, either about places to shop or about the Tennessean or about strategies for saving money or whatever you want to ask, and I'll try to answer it. But then don't let me forget at the end, I want to get a picture of everybody back up here after we get finished so I can post it on my Facebook page and let people know what's going on here at St. Clair. So I'm going to start out. I started the column, it's been 22 years ago, which really just, I can't believe it's been that long. And back then, I was a young reporter working for the Nashville Banner. I'm sure some of y'all remember the Banner, the afternoon paper in Nashville. And so I was a business writer, and I covered what they called soft business, which meant that I covered like the retail, the hospitality, companies like Dollar General or Service Merchandise at the time, Shoney's, the restaurants, Cracker Barrel, all those kind of things. And occasionally I would write about bargains. And I just saw right away that when I write about bargains or deals, that I got a lot more response than when I wrote about other things. And so I proposed it to a column along these lines to my editors. Well, I had started at the Banner in 1976, right out of Sewanee. I graduated from the University of the South at Sewanee. And so I'd started there, and the editors there had sort of taken me to raise because I didn't know how to write for a newspaper, but you know, they really stuck with me. And so when I proposed this idea of doing this Ms. Cheap column, they all just laughed and laughed and laughed. And one of the editors, who just, you know, was one of my favorite people at the paper, he just looked at me and he goes, "I know what you're trying to do, darling." And I said, "What?" And he says, "You want us to pay you to shop." Well, I got all indignant. Of course, it was partially true, but you know, I got all indignant and said, "Absolutely not, that I just wanted to provide a reader service and that this was something that I thought we should do." Well, the truth was they didn't think that you could sustain it, that you could write about a bargain this week and next week and maybe one next month, but how are you going to sustain it over time? And so I came up with a list of 50 or 60 different things that I thought I could write about with this sort of bargain tone, this bargain cheap tone. And they said, "Well, let's just try it." But they were skeptical. Even my husband, he was an editor at the paper at the time too, and he's been my biggest fan all these years. But even he just looked at me one night and said, "You know, how much cheap stuff can you write about?" And I said, "Plenty." So I'm here to say that it actually, I was a little nervous at the time myself. But the truth is, you can apply this to almost anything, whether you're planning a trip and want to save some money on it, or whether you're buying groceries, or no matter what it is, clothing, whatever. Because almost everything that you do, I think you can get for less if you just do a little homework, do a little bit of thinking about it and trying to make it work. So people ask me a lot of times about what is my favorite tip, you know, what is like the best money saving tip. And I jokingly tell people that the very best way to save money is to not go shopping. If you don't go, you don't buy. And you know, these malls and these merchants, they're really good at what they do, and their whole goal is to get you to buy something you didn't know you needed, or sometimes things you didn't even know existed. But we are going to shop, so I think, you know, that's one of those things that you've got to temper that with discipline and other things. So what I've put together is sort of my 10 commandments of 10 ways to stay cheap, 10 ways to save money. But before I do that, I wanted to tell you just a few things that have happened over the course of the column. For many years, we've done a Ms. Cheap, Cheapest of the Cheap contest, where we've invited readers to let us know their favorite cheap tips. And I'll tell you what, I thought I was cheap until I did that contest. And I mean, there are a lot of people out there who are cheaper than I am. And they have done things that I just, one of the ones that every year in the contest, we would get tips on how to save money on toilet paper. And as all of us know, you know, toilet paper has gotten expensive, and there's been some shrinkage, as they call it. You know, the rolls are smaller, and you know, it just seems to be getting smaller and more expensive all the time. But these tips on how to save on it, you'll love this. One lady said that what she does is she buys the 2-ply tissue, and she saves the old roll, and she separates it to make 2 rolls out of one. Another lady said that what she does is she stomps on the roll before she puts it on the dispenser so that it won't roll so freely. So people using it can only get 1 or 2 sheets at a time, and she can save that way. And then there was a man who said that he lives on 8 rolls of toilet paper per year by limiting himself to 2 squares per function. Well, that was just too much information for me. I mean, honestly, that was just way over the top. But you know, the truth is that toilet paper is a great example of what I'm talking about, because nobody wants cheap toilet paper. What we want is good toilet paper, cheap. And there's a big difference. And I think that's the way it is with most things, that we want the quality that we expect, but we want to get it for less. And it's all a matter of trading off. And you know, while I'm not willing to separate or stomp and re-roll or limit myself to that degree, you better believe that I'm going to look for a coupon or look for a deal on toilet paper or buy it on senior day or whatever it is to get the toilet paper at the best price. I just don't want to spend my money on that. The other thing is that I think a lot of it is just trying to be, to figure out, you know, where you spend your money sort of tells you what your priorities are. You know, if you look at your checkbook or your credit card account and you see where your money's going month after month after month, it gives you a pretty good idea of what's important to you. And I don't think there's any wrong or right way to do it, but you've got to figure out where you're willing to scrimp and save and where you're willing to splurge. And all of us have some splurges, I'm sure. I've fallen prey now. I have 2 granddaughters. One is 2.5 and one is 3 months. And I have a grandson on the way. And so I found that the things I was saving a lot of money not spending before these children came have sort of been frittered away with things that I couldn't resist. But be that as it may, I'm trying. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you the 10 things. The first one, and nobody likes this one, is thou shalt have a budget. It's old-fashioned and it's no fun, but it really does pay off. I mean, if you want to, and you all know this, but this young generation does not know that if you want to take a vacation or you want to buy a house or you want to, whatever it is you want to do, you have to plan for it. That money is not going to materialize just miraculously. So, I mean, I think the old advice of writing down everything you spend for a month or 2, and you'll see where the leaks are. I mean, it's just, you know, it's just amazing. I see these people in my office. We have a little cafeteria in our office. And I see these people who every day go down there and they get the big, huge drink, and they get, you know, lunch every day or breakfast and lunch. You know, and it's so easy to pack a lunch. You know, maybe not every day, but it's just, they're just little things that people can do if they would only think about it and figure it in terms of their budget. And if they saved on this, then they could do that. I think it's a either or proposition. Now the number two commandment is you've got to be willing to ask. Thou shalt be willing to ask. Now this may be my favorite tip as far as getting good deals. And you'd be surprised at what you can get if you ask. One of the things in the contest that came in, and one of the winners one year was a lady who had seen Amy Grant on television in a beautiful dress. And this particular lady, she just coveted that dress, and she had an event she was going to that dress was perfect for. So she really went to work and found somebody who knew Amy Grant's people and got word to them that she wanted to know if she could borrow Amy Grant's dress. Well, she got the word to the right people apparently, because they said yes, and she borrowed the dress, wore it to her event, and then had it dry cleaned and took it back. And I confirmed all this with Amy Grant's people. But I mean, who would have enough nerve to do that? But it was beautiful. It was great. It looked great on her. The other one I think you'll like too is the lady that she wrote me that she had arrived at her doctor's office only to find that her appointment had been canceled. And there on the wall was a sign that said, you know, if you cancel without 24 hours notice, you know, you'll be assessed a $50 charge. Well, she asked, or maybe demanded, I'm not sure what the better word was, that they give her the money for her inconvenience. And they gave it to her. So, you know, I mean, it's the just ask tip. I've got a folder full of things that people have just asked about and gotten a good answer. And the thing is that if you don't ask, they're not going to give it to you. You know, it always pays to ask. The worst that can happen is they'll say no. And so you've got really nothing to lose. Number 3 is you've got to be willing to do more things yourself. this is one that readers have told me different things that they do for themselves. And, one of them that always creeps into this is the lady that will write in and say, I cut my own hair. Well, if I cut my own hair, everywhere I went, people would say, do you cut your own hair? I mean, it's just that's not something that I could do. But, at the same time, I can clean my own house and I can cut my grass. And the things that I can do, I can wash my car. All those things that you can do yourself, it's worth doing. It sometimes it does pay to have somebody else do it. But I think for things that you can do, it's worth it. Now you've got to, the number 4 is thou shalt constantly be on the lookout for deals and offers that will save you money. So, I'm thinking about how many of you all, I would expect most of you all are on the internet in some way or another. How many of y'all are on the internet in one way or another? Facebook, email, something. Okay. I don't do a lot of shopping on the internet. I don't do a lot of online shopping, but I do a lot of comparison pricing and looking and sort of educating myself on things before I buy. I like to buy from local merchants. I like to go and touch and feel things. And it's part of my job to be out there. So for me, it's a luxury to be able to say I'm at work and I'm going to, Goodwill to check out some, whatever. If I find something to buy, it's just gravy, but it's all good. But I think the internet it can be your best friend. One of the things that I think, you should use it to the fullest for things that you want to get a deal on. Like if you are going to Macy's, let's say you're going to Macy's, why don't you, before you go, Google Macy's and coupon or Macy's and discount. You'd be surprised at what'll pop up. If you're going to eat at O'Charlie's, go to Google and Google O'Charlie's and coupon. Look and see if they have a Facebook page that might have a discount on it. You're just leaving money on the table if you're not taking advantage of what they're offering. And I think signing up, it used to be, how it used to be that you'd get a birthday deal, on your birthday, all these restaurants would they'd give you a dinner or an appetizer or something. Well, those deals are pretty much gone, and now they're all handled through these e-clubs. And they want your information, but I've talked to countless people who don't want all the email or worried about getting all that they just set up a separate email account to put all of those things in. And then you'll get a notice from all the different restaurants that you like already. And it might be that you'll get a free meal on your birthday or a free appetizer with it or a free dessert, or they've got a new menu item that they want you to try for free. So it's worth doing to me to have a special email account for those things so that you can, you can just delete them whenever you're finished if you're not interested in it. So I think it's worth doing that. I also think having, just knowing what the deals are at places that you like. Like if you like Witt's Barbecue, you just would know that Wednesday is the day to go to Witt's and get a sandwich because it's a lot cheaper. Know where those senior discounts are. I'm telling you, that's one of the things that this is under Just Ask and on Knowing the Deals. There's so many places that have senior discounts that don't post them. And it's up to you to ask, do you have a senior discount? They're not going to ask you if you're a senior. They're afraid they're going to upset somebody or something. And it's just one of those things, particularly these kids. But the funniest story about that was years ago when I first started the column. I was at the car dealership having some work done, and the lady in front of me was having her oil changed and all kind of work done on her car. And so as he tallied it up, she said, "Well, may I have the senior discount?" He goes, "Oh, yes, ma'am. We'll give you 10% off." So I got up there and I said, "What's up with that senior discount?" Because I really thought I'd just put it in the column or something. And he said, "Oh, we don't post it or anything, but anybody who asks for it, we'll give it to them." So I got up there and got my little oil change written down, and I said, "May I have the senior discount?" And this was a long time ago. He said, "Well, you're not a senior." And I said, "Well, you just stood here and said anybody who asked for it could have it." And he gave it to me. He gave me the discount. I mean, you just have to ask. But senior discounts, we think about them having senior discounts at the grocery store and at movies, but there are a lot of other places that have a senior discount. Let's say that you have to have your heat and air unit replaced or serviced. Ask when you call if they can give you a senior discount. You'd be, on a big ticket item like that, if they gave you 5 or 10% off, you're talking about some serious money. And they're not going to ask you, that you've just got to ask for it. And again, if they say no, you've lost nothing. But I think they're definitely worth asking for. Now, I mentioned the internet. Now, there are all kind of things that you can do on the internet. With the Tennessean, one of the things that they've gotten finally realized is to try to take care of our readers who've been longtime readers. And so they've got this, what they call an insider program that you can sign up for. It's a digital, it's online, but it's for our subscribers. It's not like a prize for new subscribers. It's for people who are already subscribers. And they offer all kind of contests and free tickets and deals there for our readers. And so if you're not signed up for that and you're already a subscriber, it's worth signing up for. And again, you can delete things you're not interested in. If it's a concert that you don't want to go to or an event that you're not interested in, you don't have to sign up for it. But it just gives you access to a lot of free things that they're doing. They just recently did this Mother's Day contest where they asked our readers to nominate who they thought was the best mother of the year. And we then awarded 5 different women based on those nominations it was a whole lot of stuff. It was a big $100 gift card to Macy's and flowers, and it was 5 or 6 things that were awarded, surprised these moms, these good moms, with those. So there's just an assortment of things that they put on that insider thing. So check that out. Free entertainment. Thou shalt enjoy free entertainment. And I know that here in Murfreesboro that there's a lot of that through your park system. I'm just right now putting together my Miss Cheap Guide to Summer, and that guide looks at free things to do between Memorial Day and Labor Day all over Middle Tennessee. And I know from years past that your free movies in the park that you have, I think that's been going on since the 40s. I mean, that's been one of the mainstays of Murfreesboro summers. Then there are these splash outs where they have the firemen go out with the fire hoses and play with the kids in different locations around town. But there are really hundreds of free things to do. When I'm looking at the music component, there is something all summer long. I mean, there's Symphony in the Park concerts in Nashville. There are these Live on the Greens downtown. They're doing this Musicians Corner, which I think is one of it's a unique sort of a lawn party at Centennial Park that they do every Saturday in May and June, and they do a concert with 2 stages of music, but they also have Kidsville, which is a great kids, just a very loosely organized kids day where the kids can come and try out instruments that they might not have at home. The musicians go and talk to them. They have hula hoops and fitness kind of things that they can do. And then there's Dogville, where you can bring your dog, and the dog can come for the whole day. It's dog friendly, family friendly. They have food trucks. They have a beer garden. I mean, it's totally free. I mean, it's just every Saturday from noon to 5. And what's not to like about a free day in the park? These splash pads have been a lot of fun for kids. If you've got grandchildren or children who want to get out and get wet, they're a lot of fun, and most of those are free. But every year when I do this guide to summer, it's one of those things that takes me weeks to put it all together, and I complain about it and moan and groan and all that. And when I get it finished, I'm so proud of it because there's so much to do in and around Nashville. I mean, you've got Shakespeare in the Park in Nashville, and then you've got the Backyard Bard here that starts this weekend. I mean, it's all kind of educational things. I know Stones River, I talked to them yesterday about the National Battlefield and all the things that they have going on. And a lot of people just don't know, we've got so many newcomers in Middle Tennessee, but those of us who have, been here a long time, I think we miss out too. I just went yesterday over to Fisk. How many of y'all have ever been on the Fisk campus? I'm just curious about this. Hardly anybody. All right, so I went over there. It's a beautiful campus, which is just a stone's throw from downtown Nashville. I mean, it's right there. They've got buildings there from as far back as 1860s. But the reason I went was because the wonderful art exhibit, I can't ever say it right, Steitzlitz art exhibit that Georgia O'Keeffe donated to Fisk in the 40s has returned to Fisk after its 2-year hiatus with the Crystal Bridges in Arkansas. And it's a small gallery. The Van Vechten Gallery is small, and the collection is 101 pieces. And right now there are 43 of those on display. But this is Picasso, Renoir. There's the first Cezanne that was ever in the United States. There are 4 of Georgia O'Keeffe's pieces. I mean, it is top-notch, impressive art. It's only $10 to go to it. They have a senior discount. They have free parking in front of the building and behind the building. And then if you go, just take a few more minutes and walk around the campus. I mean, it is beautiful. I mean, the Jubilee Hall, where the Jubilee singer's portrait is at the back of the campus. The Memorial Chapel was built in the late 1800s. I mean, it's worth a trip to over there to see it. Or certainly, if you're already in Nashville for something else, it would be a great way to spend an afternoon. But there's so many things like that people just don't realize. Between Vanderbilt and Vanderbilt's Blair School of Music and Belmont School of Music, there are over 200 free concerts in a year's time. And Vanderbilt even has free valet parking for most of them. And these are not little rinky-dink, student kind of concerts. These are first class, really great performances. Now, you should make the most of thou shalt make the most of the things you're already paying for. So let's say that you've joined different places, like you've joined maybe the Nashville Zoo or the Discovery Center here or whatever, but how many times are you going? I mean, if you're already a member of the Country Music Hall of Fame, go. I mean, you could, in 1 year, take it to its full advantage. I have one reader who told me the way she does her memberships is she staggers them. She doesn't want to, she doesn't want to pay for each one every year. So 1 year she might join the Country Music Hall of Fame and really do that, up as much as she can. Or the next year she might do Cheekwood, or the next year the zoo, or whatever it is. And that way you're exposed to all of what these places have. And also just thinking about what reciprocals there are. Like if you joined the Nashville Zoo, you can go to all these other zoos all over the country for either a discount or free. If you joined the Adventure Science Center, you could go to the Huntsville Space Museum for free. So I mean, they're all kind of, you've got to make sure that whatever you're a member of, that you know what all the perks are. If you wanted to go to Nashville Shores, make sure you know what all you get with your season pass if you have a season pass. I had a lady who I knew just not real well, but she had told me that her husband would give her a season pass to Nashville Shores for Christmas. So you get it cheaper, or the early bird deal. And then she said that she goes every weekday through the whole summer. And that it was just crazy. She had figured out that it cost her about $1.50 per visit or something like that, to go each day. So I went out there with her. I was just going to see what, let her, as the expert, show me around. Well, it was quite a day because she insisted that I have to go on all these slides with her. And honestly, I hadn't been on a water slide since my children were little. And, I went on one, and then I got to the top of this other one. And it was like a free fall. I mean, it was like, I said, I just can't do it. So I wimped out and didn't do that part of it. But the lazy river is pretty nice out there. But it's just things like that to know whatever it is. Like if you're again, but with the Tennessean, if you're taking the Tennessean, make sure you're getting all the things you're supposed to get. If you're subscribing to the print Tennessean, your digital account is free. And a lot of people don't realize that it's not like the same thing. It's not like an either-or proposition. There's different things in both places. For the online, there's a lot more visual. There are slideshows, and there's one cool thing they do is called Nashville Then, and it's a slideshow that one of our archivists puts up every week or so that shows our area something. It might show MTSU in the 60s, or it might show downtown Church Street in the 1940s. From our archives to show these pictures. They had one of Opryland in 1975 that showed all the hairstyles and the clothes that people wore, and just a sort of look back in time. But with sports and with lots of other things, there's so much more that you can do online than you can in print. if you have the Predators games, you know, everybody's so high on the Predators right now, and I hope they win tonight, that, you know, you see your print newspaper and it might have 1 or 2 pictures of the Predators game. But if you go online, there'll be 40 or 50. I mean, you know, it's a whole different experience, or there might be a video. And there are just some cool things that they're able to do online that we can't do very well in print. For me, they've been able to do things like sometimes a slideshow that would go with a story that would accompany it. Like if it would be, I did something on the Parthenon, and they had a slideshow of 10 things that you didn't know about the Parthenon, or a quiz that people could take to know, you know, about the Predators or about UT sports, or, you know, they're just more interactive things you can do there. So if you're not online, you're not getting the full experience. And really the print product they're 2 different things, as I said. So give the online a chance. Just play with it a little bit, and it's not like we're trying to get you to go to that instead of the print. It's an extension of the print. And a lot of times, with the way that we're doing things now, how many of you all get text alerts on your phone? So that's something else that I've really enjoyed with the Tennessean text alerts, because it lets me know things that I wouldn't know until much, much later. So it's a much more immediate way to find out about things. You know, I laugh about the Predators because I can't stay up late enough to watch the end of their games. And I'll wake up in the night and check my phone, and it'll tell me whether they won or lost. And when a text alert has come through. So, the next one is, thou shalt be cheap to be generous. Now this is maybe my favorite tip. And over the years, my readers have really inspired me on this. That, you know, being cheap just to be cheap is not what I'm talking about. It's not a goal in itself. The goal for me in being frugal or cheap or whatever you want to call it is that if you can save in one place, then you have money in another place to spend on things that are more important to you. And I've gotten so many tips over the years from people who are cheap to be generous. And it's things like that a lady in Hermitage wrote me that she does the angel tree for Salvation Army. I know y'all are all familiar with that. And she said that what she does is she starts in January to buy for a 13-year-old girl. And by the time the kiosks go up at the mall, you know, in October, I guess it is now, she's got enough stuff for 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 girls, where if she waited till the last minute, she would only be able to afford 1 or 2. And so, you know, I love the idea that she was spreading it over the time period. She was targeting a certain age so that she could find things for that age. And then I asked her, I said, so why the 13-year-old girl? And she goes, oh, that's always the last one picked, that everybody chooses the 4-year-old boy, 5-year-old girl who's easy and fun to buy for. And it's, you know, we all know it's a challenge to find some things that a 13-year-old would like that are affordable and good. So I loved her whole picture of that, because it just summed up what I think being cheap should be, is to use your resources and your wits to do something for somebody else. And it's simple things like, it's just simple things like with Kroger, you know, now they have the rewards card that you can help a charity with. Well, you know, you may not have children in school at a certain place, but I talked to one lady who said that she sought out what the poorest school was in her area and put them down to be the recipient of her spending at Kroger. You know, it's just thinking of things that you might not think of ordinarily. I feel like it's leaving money on the table if you don't use those things. There's a man here in Murfreesboro, Clay Dyer, who's won my contest I can't tell you how many times, and he was the kind of person that, like, I'm sure y'all have seen the entertainment book or the City Pass book that have the coupons in it for restaurants and all that. And so he would, the last week of the year before the thing ran out, he would actually go to restaurants and hand out coupons just to get rid of them so somebody could use them, somebody else could use them. And I never would have thought of that. I've done the thing where if I've got a coupon for something I'm not going to use, a lot of times I will leave it on the shelf at the grocery store. Or a lot of times if I'm at Macy's or Steinmart or somewhere where they have a lot of coupons and I have an extra one, I always give it to somebody when I'm leaving if I'm not going to use it. And it's just, you know, it's just such a fun thing to just have something free to give somebody that saves them some money. And you know, Bed Bath & Beyond is another one. And Bed Bath & Beyond, they'll take coupons that are 20 years old, I believe. I just never saw anything like it. They'll take up to 5 in most stores, and they don't care how expired they are. And yet I can't write about that, because when I call Bed Bath & Beyond and identify myself as a newspaper reporter, inevitably they say, well, that is just not true. And I'm going, well, I just did it, and been doing it. But anyway, but that's a good thing to know. I mean, I keep a stash of those in my car, and whenever I go, I take a couple of extra ones because it's just fun to give them to somebody else. And if they're buying a big item at 20% off coupon, yes, I mean, go for it. All right, so the number 9 is, and nobody likes this one either, but again, it's just worth doing. Thou shalt talk yourself out of buying things. Now, learning to say no is tough, and that's been one of the really hard things for me, because I live under, I'm out there in the stores, and my husband told me one day, he says, if you keep this job, the whole house is going to fall in, because I run across things that are too good to pass up, and it's so hard for me to realize that the bottom line is nothing is a bargain unless you need it. I mean, that's just it, and it's so frustrating. I just hate it, but it's the truth. Gayle King in Oprah's magazine had a piece where she said that she had a rule for herself. Finally, she'd come up with a rule that before she bought anything, she had to answer 2 questions. 1, do I need it? And 2, do I love it? And if she could answer yes to both of them, she could buy it. But if not, I mean, that rules out a lot of stuff. I mean, I talked to, y'all know who Stacey Johnson is. He does a segment called Money Talks that's on television, syndicated on television. And I interviewed him early when I started the column, when he was in town talking about one of his books. And he was a financial planner by trade and training. And what he said he did with his clients before they really got down to business was he asked them to go through their house and write down everything that they bought that they don't need, they don't use, that just sits there. And beside each one of those things, to write down to the best of their recollection what they paid for it. And then to add it all up. And then you see that you spent this much money for something that absolutely does nothing for your quality of life. And just think what you could have done with that money for yourself or somebody else if you hadn't spent it that way. And it's very eye-opening. I mean, and this is not even including the stuff people gave you that you don't use. I mean, this is stuff you bought. And so I think about that a lot, and I know some of you all have probably been through the dreaded downsizing. And I'm telling you, I talked to a lady one day, she said, if I'd known then what I know now, I never would have bought all that stuff. But it's hard to tell people that. And, I pity my children, because I don't know, what's going to happen when something happens to us, because it's a lot of stuff that, we did not need. But I do think that having some questions to ask yourself before you buy things is good. I mean, sometimes when I go in a store, I'm sort of like an addict, I think, that I go in the store and on the rare days that I leave empty-handed, I kind of breathe a sigh of relief when I leave the store, like, phew, I got out of there without buying anything, and even shopping the way I do, it's you buy stuff you don't need, it's just crazy. So, the thing about in your closet, ladies, this is particularly true, that in your closet you probably wear 20% of what's in your closet, and the other 80% just sits there. And so one of the ways to talk yourself out of that was, I'd always heard about the 1 in, 1 out rule. Like if I was going to buy a jacket, I got to get rid of a jacket. That you've got 1 in, 1 out. Well, I talked to a lady one day who said, well, that she'd made it more of a challenge, that she goes 1 in, 2 out. And I said, you mean like if you're going to buy a jacket, you could get rid of 2 scarves? She said, oh, no. 1 jacket equals 2 jackets. And it's a good rule to have. I mean, it keeps your stuff cleaned out and in a better organized way. But it's hard, you just see things and I just can't pass them up. Now, number 10 is extremely self-serving. That this is thou shalt read Miss Cheap. So there you go. But I did want to tell you that the column is in the Tennessean on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then if you just go to Tennessean.com/Miss Cheap, my 4 or 5 columns will be right there. So it's easy to find that. And then it has more, you can scroll down and see more. I'm also posting on Facebook. How many of y'all are on Facebook? Okay, I need more likes on my Ms. Cheap page on Facebook. But I'm posting things there all the time. Some of them are things that are links to stories, but most of them are just things that either I couldn't get in the column, or I found out at the last minute, or something that somebody else sent that I thought was worth sharing with readers that had some sort of bargain focus. So there's all kind of stuff there that I think you might be interested in. And I didn't understand the power of Facebook when it first started emerging as the social media powerhouse that it is. But now I see that it's the kind of thing. It used to be when I was in my teens, college, and early 20s, that my mother would cut out an article of something that she thought I needed to know about, usually something that I was doing wrong, and she would send me that. She'd clip it out and send it to me. But you know, with the internet and with Facebook, it's so easy just to clip those things out and send them to somebody, or just repost them if it's something that you see that you think other people would be interested in. So for example, for me, if I do my Ms. Cheap Guide to Summer, and then it goes in the paper, it goes in print, it'll go online and just stay there online where people can access it. But then if I post that link on my Facebook page, then other people like you are going to read it and say, oh, I bet my daughter would be interested in that. Let me share it with her, or share it with my readers. Or a mom's group might see it and think, well, this would be good for our group. So then I get exponential exposure to the article that I think might help people plan their summer with free things to do. So the sharing is the thing that I think a lot of people who are Facebook users don't always take advantage of, and know what the effect of it is, the ripple effect of it is. So that's one thing we're trying to get people to understand, that and help us to get the information that we've put together that we think is useful to people that could enjoy it. So I'm going to stop there and see what questions you all have. I can talk about places to shop. I can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'll try.